Welcome to another in our series of Real People in Scripture, where we look at the lives of real people who lived in real places at real times. Today I'd like to take us back about 2,500 years. There was, if we don't have time to go through the whole story, but basically God's people were in sin. And as part of the consequences of their sin and rebellion against God, they were taken away into captivity, into Babylon. And one of the places where they had been taken into captivity, there was a king named Xerxes. And Xerxes was married to a beautiful woman, and she was the queen, but then she did something that made Xerxes mad. And so he decided that he was going to get a different queen. He wanted a different beautiful woman. And so they basically sought throughout the entire land for women of beauty, and they came, and eventually a woman named Esther was chosen. Now, I imagine you probably heard about her in the past. She was Jewish, but her relative, a man named Mordecai, said, "Don't tell other people that you're Jewish." We don't get to know all the details of why, but something told Mordecai that he needed to tell her to hide her identity. And so she did. And she was chosen as the queen. And let's just jump ahead to a time when a man named Haman entered the scene. Now, Haman hated the Jewish people. Scholars debate whether it was because he just disliked Mordecai so much, or whether it was because in the distant past his family had been at war with the Jewish people. We're not really sure on those details, but basically he worked things so that Xerxes issued a decree because of Haman that all Jewish people throughout the land would be killed. Now Mordecai, knowing this danger, had gone to Esther and he communicated with her and said, "You need to step up and do something." And Esther said, "Me? No, not me." And Mordecai said, "Well, who knows? It might be that God is using you to save all of your people. If he doesn't use you, he'll use somebody else, but it just might be that God is calling you specifically, Esther. So are you willing to be used by God?" Now what Esther did is said, "I don't know." And she went off and she prayed, and she asked all of God's people to join with her in prayer wherever they were, whatever they were doing, just to take some time to pray with her. And so they did, and Esther recognized that yes, she had to do something. And so you can read the details in Esther if you want, and I hope you do. But what Esther did is she said, "Okay, I'm going to step forward and I am willing to be used by God." She had a choice, and she chose to be brave. Now, sometimes we might feel like, well, God's not working, or God is working, but he can't work through us. And I want to encourage you to think about that in a different way. Maybe God is calling you to be used by him for his glory, not for yourself, but for his glory. And so the challenge to you is to accept that calling and to be brave, to listen for God's voice and be bold and be brave in your response when God calls you to step forward. Because you never know. God might have put you in a particular place at a particular time to do something incredible for his glory and his honor. I want to encourage you to remember Esther the next time you have an opportunity presented to you. Are you going to be willing to step up and say, "Okay, God, I don't feel worthy, but go ahead and use me for your glory and your honor"? Remember, your time is God's time, so please use it wisely. God bless.